Hello everyone, welcome to Online Study for You. In this video, we will be discussing about some of the important C programming questions that are usually asked in the tech interviews. This video will surely help you in your interview preparations. So I'll request you to watch this video till the very end. So let's get started with our first question. What is a C language? So C language was developed by Dennis Ritchie. So before moving to the definition of C language, let's first understand what was the need of a programming language. I will give you the very basic idea behind why the programming language was made. So the logic is very simple. Let's say you are an Indian and you know two languages, that is English and Hindi. Now you go to some other country where the people do not know English or Hindi. Let's say you go to Germany, so people know only German there. So in order to communicate with them, you can do two things. Either you learn German, or secondly, you hire a translator that translates each and every thing that you say to the German person. So the idea is similar behind the programming language. Our machine only understands the language of binary, that is zeros and one. And it is very hard. It will be very hard for us to give all the instructions in binary. So that is where the programming language come into play. I have given you very basic logic behind programming language. There are obviously many other reasons, but this is the very basic idea behind the programming language. So let's move on to the first to the definition of C language. C is a procedural programming language. The procedural programming language is also known as the structured programming language, which is a technique in which the large programs are broken down into smaller modules and each module uses structured code. Let's understand this. So what is a procedural programming language? So in procedural languages, the program code is written as a sequence of instructions. User has to specify what to do and how to do step-by-step procedure in step-by-step procedure. These instructions are then executed in a sequential order, and obviously this program instructions are written to solve a specific problem, right? So let's understand this with the help of one example. Let's say you want to add two numbers. So you will have to give the instructions to the compiler, right? To the translator. You will have to give step-by-step instructions. You will say, let's say you need to add 5 and 10. Okay. You will say A is equal to 5, make a container that stores A is equal to 5, make a container B that let's say stores 10 and do A plus B. Very simple. You have given three instructions here. Give A. I have not written any programming language here. I'm just telling you what does a procedural programming language means. So basically you have given three instructions and they will be executed in this order, in the order that you have given. This will be executed first, then this, and then this will be done. So this is the whole idea behind structural and procedural programming languages. So I hope you understood what a procedural programming language is. So there are other languages as well, such as object-oriented programming, and we will be discussing them further in our upcoming videos as well. So let's move on to the next question now. So my second question is, what is a pointer? So just looking at the definition first, a pointer is a variable that refers to the address of a value. Okay, let's not bother about this definition. Okay, I'll just tell you what it is. Let us assume you make a variable, you used a variable in your program. Let's say you did int A is equal to 5. So what happens in the memory, in your memory? So basically what compiler does, the compiler allocates a memory, okay, and it will give the name A. Now this memory will have some address, right? The memory that is allocated will have some address. Let's say you make a house, right? So that house will have some address, right? The people where live, people live here. Let's say person A, person B lives here. So it has some address, right? Similarly, if you allocate some memory, right? So it will have some address that is given by the compiler. Let us assume for now that the address of A is 100. So how can we know this address? What can we do that I can get the address of A? The name is A, but the address is 100. Okay, I'm not saying the address is A. A is the name of the house. Okay, A is the name of this memory location, but this memory location has some address, and I'm talking about this address. For now, let us assume that 100 is my address. So how can I get this address? For that, we need AND operator, right? If we'll print AND A, if we'll print this will give me the output will be 100, right? Because I have taken the address of A to be 100. It can be anything, right? It will not be 100. It will not be an integer for sure. I mean, it can be anything, right? It depends. So for now, let us assume it is 100. So if I'll say AND A, so it will give me 100, right? So now I want to store it in some variable. So what can it be? Okay, I told you it is not an integer. You don't know what is the data type of an address. Can you know what is the data type of an address? Just think about it. What is the data type of an address? If you want to store an integer, you use int a. Okay. If you want to store a character, you use char this. So what is the data type of an address? So if we want to store the address of an integer variable, the concept of pointers come into play. We use int star. Let's take a variable p, and now I can store the address of A. This is my address, and since A is an integer variable, so I will require an integer pointer. This is known as integer pointer, int star. This is my integer pointer. This is the name of the variable. Now there is a memory location with name P where I have stored 100, which is the address of A. Obviously, this P will also have some address. My pointer, since my pointer is also a variable, so it will have an address too. So let's say its address is 1100. Okay, let's just assume it, right? So now my P pointer holds the address of A. This is the address of A. So what is a pointer variable? It is simply a variable that stores the address. Now, if you want, let's say I have char b is equal to z, right? Now you want, so in memory location there will be something like this. There is a memory location where you have b, and it has stored z in its memory. Now this memory block will have some address. This house has some address, right? Let us assume its address is 500 for now. Okay, so see, this is an assumption, right, that it will be 500, but in general, in original, it is not, and it is not a integer. So you need a data type to store some address, right? So since it is a character, so you will be needing a character pointers to store it. So I'll say char star. I'll take any name add, and I'll say and b. So now this add pointer will store the address of my b variable. So this is the entire concept behind the pointer. One more thing. Let's say in a pointer, okay, let's take it here. Let's say in a pointer p, you have the address of a, right? So how, if you will do cout, if you will print p, this will give you the address of a. Let's take it, let's take an example. So you will be able to understand more properly. So as you can see here, it is an integer pointer, int star p. This is how we declare an integer pointer. So what is an integer pointer? The variable that holds the address of an integer variable. Now I have a integer variable a which is initialized with 5. So I say p is equal to and a. So now my pointer p has the address of an integer variable a, and then I print the value of p, right? So now when I print it, as you can see here, when I'll run it, it says the address value of a is 6618644. This doesn't mean it is an integer. It is, the address is sometimes a hexa, not sometimes, it is a hexadecimal value. So so don't get confused that if it is coming a number, so you can store it in it, you can store it in an integer. This is not the case. So yeah, this is the entire concept behind a pointer. A pointer is simply a variable that stores the address of a value. If it will be a character pointer, char star p. So now this my p variable can store the address of uh, a character. Now my character pointer p can store the address of a character variable, right? Now let's run it. Okay, so the address value of a is 6618644. So this was the concept of pointers. So let's move on to the next question now. So one very popular question that is always asked is the difference between Calloc and Malloc. So before going into that, I will be discussing what Malloc is, and then I'll be going into what Calloc is, and then you can easily figure out what is the difference between them. So what is a Malloc? So Malloc is an built-in function declared in the header file stdlib.h. So the malloc or memory location method in C is used to dynamically allocate a single large memory block with a specified size. It returns a pointer of type void, which can be cast into a pointer of any form. It doesn't initialize memory at execution time, so it has initialized each block with default garbage value initially. Let's understand each and every sentence that has been written here. First, the malloc or memory location is used to dynamically allocate a single large memory of size that you specify. This is the syntax. So basically, malloc function simply allocates a memory block according to the size that you specify, and on success, if the size is allocated, that memory block is allocated, it returns a pointer pointing to the first byte of the allocated memory, right? Let's say you say I want to allocate 4 bytes, right? So this is, let's say this is 4 bytes, and you store it in a pointer variable. So now this, on success, this will be pointing to this first byte of this memory location, right? Okay, so what do we mean by what does the second statement represent? It returns a pointer of type void. So basically, malloc doesn't have an idea what it is pointing to. The malloc does not know that what will be the data that is stored in it. Will it be an integer? Will it be a character, or what it will be? So it returns a void pointer, and then what we do, we basically cast it into some data type. It merely allocates memory requested by the user without knowing the type of data that is stored in the memory. So the void pointer can be typecasted to an appropriate type. So how can we do that? We simply say, let's say I have to store an integer. So intptr is equal to int star malloc, and I want a size 4 in it. So what will happen? So it will allocate a size for a memory of 4 bytes. Okay, and it will return a void pointer, and that will be typecasted into an integer pointer. So this is the whole idea behind the Malloc memory location. So now let's look at the Calloc. So what is Calloc? So Calloc is very similar to Malloc with very few differences, and those differences are readily asked in your interviews. So basically, Calloc is used to dynamically allocate the multiple blocks of memory. In Malloc, what did we see? It is used to allocate dynamic memory, but it is a single block of memory, right? It is different from Calloc. Calloc is also used to do the same, but it can allocate multiple blocks of memory. This is my syntax: cast type, Calloc, the total number of memory blocks, and the element of size, right? Something of this sort. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the argument will be 3. And let's say I want to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the value of n will be 4. And let's say the element size, I want each block to be of 4 bytes. So element size is 4, 4. So let's look at one of the examples. Let's say I want to allocate a memory of 40 bytes using Malloc and Calloc. So what can we do? Let's see with Calloc first. So I can write int star ptr is equal to int star Calloc 10, 4, right? And similarly, I want to do it using Malloc. So I'll say int star ptr is equal to int star Malloc 10 into 4. As simple as that. So this will create a contiguous block of memory, a single block of 40 bytes. And what will this do? This will create something like 10. The element size is 10, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and one more block, 10. 10 block, each of 4 bytes. The second difference between Calloc and Malloc is we have seen, we haven't discussed this sentence, that it does not initialize memory at the execution time. The memory which is created using Malloc is not initialized. Is not initialized. There is some garbage value present here, a garbage value. But this is not the case with Calloc. The memory block is initialized with 0 in case of Calloc. So these are two major differences between Calloc and Malloc. And there is one similarity between Calloc and Malloc. Let's say you have a memory space, okay, and I want to allocate a memory, the amount of memory that it cannot do, that it cannot allocate. So in both the cases, in case of Calloc and Malloc, in both the cases, it will return a null, right? So this is the similarity between Calloc and Malloc, that Malloc and Calloc both returns null if the when sufficient memory is not available in the heap. So I hope the difference between Malloc and Calloc is clear to you, as well as the similarity. Let's move on to the next question now. Okay, what are dangling pointers? Okay, a pointer that points to a non-existing memory is called a dangling pointer. Okay, if a pointer is pointing to a memory that does not exist, is known as dangling pointer. Let us understand this with the help of an example. Let's say in main function, I declare a pointer, right? Let's say I declare a pointer. Let's initialize it with null. And I want to allocate some memory to it. I want to store some address in it. Let's use this with the help of a function. Let's try to locate it with the help of a function. Okay. And now we have a function here which returns an integer pointer. Right. Now we have a number here. Int num is equal to 5. Let's say that. And now int star p is equal to and num. And now we want to return this P. Okay. So what will happen? See, this number NUM has its existence only confined to these blocks. So when I say int num is equal to 5, let's say the num has address of 1000, right? Now in pointer P, I store this 1000, and now I returned this value. I returned this address. But as soon as I returned this function freed the memory. This num variable ceased to exist. It does not exist anymore. Yeah, it does not exist anymore. Right? This is the concept of a local variable, right? I will discuss this local variable in a lot more detail in the next question. But let's just understand for now that once I return it, this num variable ceased to exist. And if this num variable ceased to exist, the memory is freed. The memory is freed. The memory is deallocated. But my pointer PTR still holds this 1000, right? Still holds this 1000, this address. So a pointer of this type is called dangling pointer because it is pointing to a memory that has been deallocated before. And now it does not exist. That memory does not exist. Obviously, it is not allocated to num now, right? But this is this memory location, this 100 address is somewhere in your memory, right? And this is where the PTR points. So this is known as a dangling pointer. So a very simple definition, a pointer that points to a non-existing memory. See, very simple. This num variable was existing only in this function. As soon as the function control got into main, this num variable ceased to exist. It is a non-existing memory now. So now the pointer is pointing to this memory and it does not exist. So this is a dangling pointer. So let's move on to our final topic, that is local variable and global variables. What are those? That is a lot asked in the interviews. Okay, there is a very we will try to understand the concept of local and global variables through the help of one example. What are local and global variables? The very much idea of these two things rely on the scope of a variable. So let's try to understand that. Okay, this is a C program, right? This is a function, a void func, and now I have a variable named age is equal to 18. So this variable is local to this function only. What do I mean by local to this function? This simply means that if I try to access this variable outside this function, it will cease to exist. The scope of this variable only exists till this function. If I'm trying to access this variable age inside some other function, inside this, let's say, main function, so my compiler will say identifier age is undefined. I don't know what this variable is. So this is what I mean by a local variable. And a thing, this is always connected with the scope of the variable. Okay, so there is something called global variable as well. Let's say I don't int a is 5. Let's say int a is 6. Now I am initializing age is equal to 18 outside the function, outside any of the function. Now this is my global variable because I have not declared it inside the any function. I have not declared it inside this function. I have not declared it inside main. So now this variable can be accessible by this function as well. My compiler will recognize this variable inside this func as well, and it will identify it inside main as well. So this is global variable. Let's use an analogy to explain you more. Let's say I talk about a chief minister. the discretion of a chief minister is restricted to a state, right? But if I'm talking about a prime minister, the discretion of prime minister is on the entire country. So in this case, if my prime minister is a prime minister inside Bihar, he is a prime minister inside the UP, he is prime minister inside Jharkhand, he is the same prime minister inside uh, uh, Karnataka, right? But let's say there is a CM of Bihar. Now he is not the CM of Uttarakhand as well, right? He is not a CM of some other state. So his discretion is restricted to a particular region only. Okay. So that was a analogy that I tried to help you understand the concept of local and global variable. So, and what happens in a local variable is the variable ceases to exist. It does not exist outside this. Okay. Let's say if I take int a here as well, int a is equal to 5, right? So this a which is declared here is different from this a which is declared here. Okay. So the scope of this a is restricted to the function func, and the scope of this a is restricted to the function int main. But since I have declared age variable outside the functions, this is a global variable. It is accessible anywhere. If I'll say print f percentage t comma age, so it is accessible here as well. Okay. So it gives 18 as output because I have not called the function. So it is printing the age only once. But you can see I have not declared age variable inside main, but still it is printing 18. Why? Because this age variable was accessible in this main as well. Let's say I call the function func function, right? Let's say I call the function in main, and now what will happen? See, it prints 18 two times. Why? First, printf statement is executed where age is printed. Then the function is called, and now this function will print the age, age, and this age was accessible. This age was accessible in this function as well. So it prints 18 two times. So this is the concept of global and local variables. Hope you understood it. If you have any doubts, you can write it in the comment section. I will be happy to answer that. So hope this video was useful to you. There is one more announcement from Online Study for You, that we have launched our Infosys interview preparation material for all streams, and it also has free live mock interview sessions. You can check this out. We will be giving the link in the description, and this is a very useful course. This will prove very good in the preparation of your course at the very minimal cost of 299. So hope you like this video. So if you liked our video, kindly please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also those who are preparing for the interviews, you can share this video to them as well. So yeah, let's meet you in the next video.